didn't know what I was building at the time, I was messing around with some of the new triangular parts and ended up creating a conical shape that looked like a hive.
You've got this base setting down here, lower off to the side here. It's pretty amazing what you've done here. I'm actually kind of blown away. We took a few minutes before I came, and you invited me here, and I looked at some of your stuff, and I got to tell you, my mind is absolutely blown with the intricacy and just some of the detail you've put into this place. Right now, I've stopped my camera, mesmerized on the wall as you walk in here, and you've got this facing what looks like flags in and out, in and
Hmm.
out. I'm blown away. It's genius what you've done with just some of the simple things in
Thank
the
you.
game that nobody really sees, and you've done some great stuff. Like just putting them together and creating a new object altogether. It's truly amazing.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
absolutely stunned what you've done here. Welcome to the show. Let me get into camera view here. Oh, I'm sitting up funny, aren't I? Let's see if I,
Yeah, multiplayer sofa surfing is
that's right.
always an interesting endeavor.
All right, let's
It's
see if we can do it right.
it's uh, space planking. Your character kind of planks, and yeah, I think you get a good seat there.
Good enough.
All right,
We've got a nice backdrop with your ship here.
all
Um,
right.
welcome to the show. I see the character you're using here is the anomaly character.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that. Why have you chosen that character?
No particular reason. My normal save actually has another one of the Quicksilver looks, the one with the clear head with the glowy innards. But my original save was the anomaly, and I like the thought of being anomalous, and uh, I just kind of like the way the character looked. Quite honestly, the suit, the action pants that they were wearing, it just this character kind of I was just drawn to the look of it. I think it was initially, and as a day one player, I just felt like being the anomaly was the way to go.
That's it. It seems to be that's the character that you're drawn to. Sort of the human side of the game or the
Mm.
characters that they put into the game. You've got this actually really crazy look right now with your head sort of it sticks out a little bit like a turtle. It's really kind of neat. There we go. Now it's sitting up
Yeah,
straight.
yeah.
Um,
I lean back.
it's all good. I love this game how it gives you all these different things that makes
Oh.
us laugh. When you lean forward or lean back, and it changes the character. They give us so much
Hmm.
to enjoy. Um, you're one of those players that everybody talks about, and I've yet to interview
Oh.
you and get to know you and share who Action Pants Gaming is to the No Man's Sky Cafe Amino. So let's get to know you. You're known as Action
Ooh.
Pants Gaming. What?
Yeah.
I won't ask you what your real name is, but you go by K
Oh no.
Dog.
My real name I say in the beginning of every stream, and speaking of the anomaly character, and I think kind of going back to that a little bit, I think when I first played, I wanted to go in as sort of a humanoid in order to be that character and see what other alien races I might encounter, and put myself more in that position of the character. Um, but yeah, I'm Kevin, K Dog. My brother gave me that nickname, when I was younger, back in the '80s when things were dog. Uh, late '80s, early '90s.
That's right. I remember
And
those days.
yeah, 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 yeah. I think I vaguely remember them. But and then when the PlayStation first went online, it was just a simple, I'll remember that, you know what I mean, as a PlayStation handle. If I needed to get back into my account, I didn't want to go all crazy. I'm like, what was my username again?
Yeah.
Um,
There's been some interesting ones out there. I've seen all kinds of crazy
oh
ones
yeah.
with, especially with Call of Duty. That always brings out
Oh,
the childhood
I
nuts in us.
I love those. That's some of my favorite screen names. I think because it's like you were killed by, and one
Yes.
of my favorite ones was your own insecurities. So you know somebody was specifically coming up with the name because they were like, all right, you're going to be killed by,
Yeah.
and all right, my scream, and then moldy sandwich was my other favorite. You were killed by a moldy sandwich, and I'm like, damn it, I was killed by a moldy sandwich. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah.
love screen names. I love the, the origins of screen names, and I get asked a lot about Action Pants Gaming.
Mhm.
Where did that come from? And when I first started my channel, as I was talking to you earlier, I didn't see anyone doing any building. The only building reference I had to work with was, edited music videos of, E.R. Burroughs, J.C. Hysteria, American Psycho, Kibbles, and Ash and guys like that. Um, so I decided to start the YouTube channel, just me building and what I go through with building, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and my struggle with building back then. In Next or whatever. I so many titles I can't keep track here. But Before Beyond,
Yeah, yeah. We'll get back to building because it's a huge
yeah,
topic on what we're talking about today and
right,
why we're all here, and what brought you to the game and so on. Okay, so K-Dog is what a lot of us call you, or a lot of your
yeah,
friends call you.
yeah.
Now, how long have you been playing the game itself? Are you a day one player, or did you pick it up like, in Next or Atlas Rises, or when?
No, I actually pre-ordered. Was following the whole,
The media
uh,
hype? Yeah.
media hype, with it, and I'm like, this looks like a great game. I can't wait to try it. It looks beautiful. It's right up my alley. I want to, 19 quintillion planets. That right there kind of caught me. The whole procedurally generated thing also sounded really interesting. And so I pre-ordered. I played day one for a few months and was like, wow, what a beautiful game. But it's lacking some stuff. I wasn't angry. I didn't get all pissy about it. I just said, it's a beautiful game. It has a ton of potential. Hey, I bet you there'll be some updates. There's other things I'm playing and other things in life that are getting in the way anyway. So I put it down for a while and then found out that building had been introduced and came in and a little bit later after building was introduced and started building and realized, wow, this is what I was missing in the game anyway.
Yeah, they've really put a lot of new stuff in with each update. Starting with foundations and whatnot.
hmm
Um, Geez, the years have gone by. It seems like it's been only a couple, but it's 3 long years, and we've got some
Yeah.
great updates. Um,
Oh yeah.
Now you sound very much similar to my own age myself. I'm about a 47-year-old gentleman. How old are you, sir?
I actually just turned 49 in May.
How
Staring down
about
the
that?
barrel of 50.
Yeah.
So I'm almost 50 there, and
So
I
even
don't
us old
celebrate
timers.
birthdays yet. Oh, heck yeah. Most of the people I know are our age in this game. There's some younger lads and ladies that play this that are, um, in their 20s, younger. And there's some even younger ones than that. I actually have somebody I was helping from South Africa who's, I think was 16. Um, Nice young lad, really into the game. But yeah, I've been a gamer since Pong.
The
My
game is
grandparents
for
had a
all
Pong.
ages. Yeah.
Oh, it really is.
So
Yeah,
you
I
had an
mean,
Atari.
oh yeah, we were the. Actually, there's a nice story on that one. Grew up, uh, you know, poor. Didn't have a lot of money. One year, parents were like, "All right, we got the family a gift this year." So your main gift, we used to get like a main gift and a bunch of little gifts like a pack of cool pencils and whatever.
Yeah, yeah, stocking stuffers.
Um, yeah, exactly. So the main gift turned out to be the Atari, and boy, let me tell you, the neighborhood was at our house a lot.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I grew up in Winnipeg, and we had one as well. And it it was like you were the attention. Everybody had to
Mm.
come over and play those games, and we had Donkey Kong and Pong and
Uh-huh.
Missile Command, I think,
Missile
and a couple of
Command, River
others. Yeah,
Raider,
I
Pitfall.
think even Qbert came out a little bit later
Yep.
on. There were
Cubert.
some great games back then. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then of course, the neighbors, they had to one up you, right? So they go get themselves a ColecoVision and yeah, it was a lot of fun back then. I
Oh
gave up
yeah.
video games many years back and then picked it up again once I sort of settled down a little in life and had some time. Um, so, I get with you there where, age doesn't really matter. You can enjoy the game at whatever age. This game in particular has something for us old timers, and that's the
Hmm.
nostalgia with all the old movies and um, all the childhood themed heroes and movies that we watch. The comics, they've got so many similarities, and they've sort of put them in there and given them a little nod. To each one of them, like Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars and a lot of those great films.
Yeah.
Is there a particular one that's inspired you that you were inspired when you were a kid that the game sort of
Ooh.
or gives a nod to?
You know, I am such a visual. How do I put this? I absorb everything visually. I mean, I've been artistic as a kid. And I suppose probably a little autistic. But it, the game has. That's a hard question to answer. Actually, there's nothing in particular. I love sci-fi. I love everything about sci-fi. Uh, and this game just kind of speaks to me. I've
It's kind
never
of
had a
all of them.
game. Yeah, I mean, huge Blade Runner fan, huge Battlestar Galactica, anything sci-fi when I was a kid, Close Encounters, uh, Alien, the first one, and then the one where the Marines
The second one,
where,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, where, what's his name there? We're all gonna die, man. What's his name?
um,
Um,
yeah, I
you
know
know,
the actor's name. I can't think of it right now. But yeah,
so, but
Paxton,
yeah,
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, thank you. Um, so this game kind of yeah, it's hard. It's hard to explain. When you're drawn to this game, you're just kind of drawn to it for some reason. There's something about it that brings something back, whatever it may be. Yeah, I'm just babbling like a moron right now because I can't even
Well,
I
it's
can't even
because it's
think
all of
about how
the
to describe it.
Well, it's because it's
It's
all
all
the
yeah.
things, right? It's all the
Yeah, it's an
different movies that you
amalgamation of
grew
all of
up
it.
on.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Battlestar Galactica, I watched when I was a kid. Star Wars, I watched when I was a kid. Star Trek,
yeah,
and there
yeah.
was little nods to
How could I
that
leave that
too.
out?
Yeah, yeah. Alien and Aliens, or take your pick, which one.
Yeah,
All these films that we watched when we were kids, even the comic books, like
yeah.
some of them. I can't
I'm
think of any
sorry.
at the moment, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like all the sci-fi stuff that we watched.
Well,
War of the
2001.
Worlds.
War of the
Yeah,
Worlds.
exactly.
Um,
These are stuff that we grew up on, and they put them in the game in little teeny tiny bits, and they have to be careful with copyright infringement, so they change it ever so slightly, but we know it's
right.
there, and
Well,
that's
there's even sorry to interrupt. There's even a little bit of Serenity in with one of the ship styles.
yeah.
The
Which one?
one of the haulers has a look of the Serenity there.
Yeah, I can't.
Um,
The one with the wings that are like,
yeah, kind of stubby.
yeah, I know the ones that.
Yeah,
I just can't think of how you describe those particular wings. They're kind of like
yeah.
where a wing should be, but there's a stub instead. Kind of like a featherless wing, right?
Right.
Um,
Kind of like some of the living ships I was encountering, what we were calling the Perdues. Oh,
some
I
of them
found
are really
another
neat.
Purdue living ship where it had like no wings or no armor. It was just it looked really funny, like they had plucked it. It looked like a plucked chicken.
Yeah. You know what they do, especially when they spread out like that, they kind of do look like a plucked chicken.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny. Um, so, I mean, obviously you build, you love building, and you
Oh
played the
yeah.
game from the beginning. So building
Yeah.
wasn't really your first love. Is there
No.
something that you really love? Like, what do you love doing in the
Oh,
game?
well, initially, and still on occasion, like when I'm not in creative mode, which is I am predominantly, because if you're building, why not? That's it's creative. Just go build, 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 build. But when I'm in my normal mode, or what I call my character mode, that's what I played from the beginning. Um, I used to love just coming into a planet and walking around with the great kind of atmosphere music going on in the background and the noises, and you don't know what kind of view you were going to get going over the horizon, or as the sunset and it got dark, and or the lights coming through the clouds, just walking around this foreign environment, this alien environment. And that used to probably be my most the most favorite thing to do. But then it started getting a little repetitive. I kind of knew what I was going to get into. Oh, I'm hitting a poisonous planet, so I'm going to probably run into big giant mushrooms. Kind of this coloration, this sort of look on the planet. I kind of knew what I was expecting. Um, Seems like they might be leaning towards some changes on that soon.
I'd like to see some newer changes, spatial changes in outer
Yeah.
space. That is, I'd like to be able to, like land on an asteroid, for example, or just something
Oh,
new, different, more
yeah.
to it than just all the empty space. They've added some good things.
Yep.
Keep
Yep.
going.
Definitely.
Just keep
Yep.
going. Right now's the time. More biomes on planets, yes, definitely. There's a lot of stuff we'd like to see. Um,
Hmm.
one of the things I always like to remember, and I remind as many people as possible, I love seeing all those things. I want all those things. But if they give it to us all at once, then we won't have anything
Oh,
left to give us.
was true. And what I was going to say as well is there are also limitations to the current systems, especially for console. There's only so much that they can do with the current, programming, I would imagine.
That's
You
right.
know,
PS4 is getting kind of old now, and PS5 is
yeah,
going to be out soon.
is right. And let's face it, if they can create a version for PS5 or just move this over, clean it up, and then have that to work with, can you imagine what this is going to look like on the PS5? And especially with the new VR setup? Oh,
Yeah, I've seen what it looks like on PS Pro. I still
hmm.
rock the old-fashioned, PS4,
Yeah.
and it's not bad. Up until just, I think it was 2 days ago, I had not seen a rainbow on my PS4, and
Ah.
so it was really, really nice to finally see that. They made some graphical changes to
Oh,
allow
nice.
that to happen, and thank you HG for doing that because that was really
Mm.
awesome to be able to see that for the first time. Everybody's talked about it, and there's always been a debate. But I've never been able to see it, and so now I have, and thank goodness for
And,
that because
and
now we
darn it,
can.
now I don't feel special because I've got a PlayStation Pro, and I thought, I get to see rain. No, no, I always thought it was kind of
Uh,
a bummer that I'm like, man, that's a bummer. I get to see, these cool graphics, but unfortunately, the people on on the standard PlayStation don't. That's not fair.
you do see a lot more detail in some of the texturing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a awful lot more detail than I see, and that's okay. I'm half blind anyways. I've got to
Hmm?
get a new prescription for my glasses. The one thing I wouldn't mind seeing is bigger lettering for some of the smaller upgrades and stuff like that when you're looking at them. I
Hmm.
find it's really, really tiny. It would be nice to see it in a little bit bigger format, but that's just a personal request. Um, maybe
And
I
even
just
if
need
you scale up
bigger
your
TV.
HUD,
I might need a bigger TV. Maybe I just need a bigger TV. Yeah, let's go
what
with
should
that.
TV?
I'll
Okay.
use that. The wife will buy. Yeah, maybe she'll buy it. So, um, you loved exploring the game, and you
Yeah.
found that you were starting to get a little mundane. And now, is that what drew you to building, or was it like something you saw and you had to do it yourself?
No,
What was it?
actually, what drew me to building was the building aspect itself. I'm like, oh, neat. I can be creative. I can, I was walking around these beautiful environments, initially when the game first came out. And I'm like, oh, it would be neat because it was just this big giant emptiness as you're walking around an entire planet. Occasionally you would stumble across, one of the, in-game structures. And I started thinking, man, it'd be really neat if you could, build, a little base, in here or something. And of course they brought building in, and I was like, all right, I got to try this out, and I just started building and immediately just kind of, you know, it led me to explore again because I was like, all right, well now I want to, find an environment that looks interesting where I could see a structure there, you know. So then I started exploring and looking around the environments again, and realizing that, even though I knew what I was going to expect, the terrain was going to be a little different here and there. I would eventually see some things that I hadn't seen before.
Well, that's something I've learned from a lot of the PBF builders who I've interviewed over the last couple of months. And I think one of the first persons that told me that was it Chaos Rider? No, it would have been APG. No,
No, that's me.
uh,
AP, American
AP,
Psycho.
American Psycho. I always get the initials mixed up. American
Yeah,
Psycho. You're
yeah.
right.
We laugh about that actually, me and AP.
um, he first told me about location is everything, and he's right. I started
Mm-hmm.
to look myself, and when I had an idea of some of the builds that I wanted to try and accomplish, I've had some ideas in my head for a long time, but lacked the ability or the creativity to be able to get them done. Um, and it's only until recently where you guys have taught me the wire glitch and the blender glitch especially, which kind of makes anything possible, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm slowly learning, some of the scientific knowledge that goes into that and how to position things in the right manner. And, setting is everything when it comes to that because, a mountainside sometimes just isn't good enough. It's got to be the right kind of mountainside or just high
Right.
enough to go with your build or to blend with the you know, the
Or
terrain that you're
or a
putting your
planet
build
in the
into.
horizon or view, or the
Exactly.
coloration, or unfortunately now an EM field.
Yes. However, it's not as bad as a lot of people think. I mean, EM fields, yeah, they're kind of random sometimes. You don't have to get an S class,
No, not in
but
creative.
but I've learned that you can extend your base limits a little
Excuse me.
bit to accommodate for an EM field if there's one a little
Hmm.
outside your range. So it can be done, and you can create like a lattice or like a wire bridge to bring it
Yeah.
closer, which I've done on a couple of occasions, and it's actually really helped with a lot of builds just to throw that in there and not worry about it. Creative is also a great way to go because you can toggle on and off the
Right,
power.
but for me, and what I'm getting at with the EM generator specifically is the animation. So a lot of times, because of the way I build and how I use the parts, the animation is actually very important. It gives that particular portion of the build a bit of life, something happening. It's not so static. So a lot of times when searching for a build site, I'll find a really amazing build site, realize there's no EM field to use that as part of my build,
Yeah, so you
the
want to
animation.
use
Uh,
the EM.
Right.
I see
And
where
not
you're getting at.
necessarily for power or to power objects, although sometimes yes I will do that, but it's more about the animation of the part.
Yeah, it
The
gives the right
swirly bit up
aesthetic.
top. Right. And the part where the lines kind of, fill up and dissipate, on the base of the EM generator.
Yeah, and nobody
Um
likes the dreaded lightning bolt.
oh, the horrid, horrid lightning bolt, yes.
It looks kind of neat on its own, but yeah, the graphics are much better. I prefer that it looks like mist or some kind of a blue field that swirls around it. It really has a great effect to it. And you're a bit of a master of blending those together and having them look like something else. Like so many things on your base, and I visited a couple of your quick bases here before we met. Things are they're all simple things in the game that you've put together to make other things that nobody has seen before or tried before. And it boggles my mind that that somebody thought to do that, to make those things exist and to put them in there. It gives every base that you make its own unique fingerprint. of who it is. You know, I can look at any one of your bases and know you built this. APG is the builder and the designer of this. Um, it's just simply at how you do your work. Beeblebum is got his own fingerprint as well, and so does
Yep.
Nirvana and a lot of other
Yep.
builders.
And
Um,
ER and
and I've
American
gotten to,
Psycho. Yeah.
yeah, and I've really gotten to know how each one of you have their own separate sort of styles, and how it works together. You're pretty amazing. I've seen a lot of builds, and I'm floored at what you've put together here at this base.
Well,
So you have
thank you.
to you have to excuse my absence of words at times. It's difficult to put into context what I'm seeing, and to think all of a sudden the light bulbs go off and you think, oh my goodness, why haven't I ever thought of something like this before? It changes how I can do things and how I can make things look. And it's inspiring to know that, that you've done it and it can be done and it is possible to make these looks happen. For example, a simple thing as the angled window, which I'm sitting behind here, um, that's not in the game. And it gives a very different, a modern look, and it gives a flair to your build that
Right.
you don't see on just regular builds. I mean, all of mine
Well,
have got flat windows, and until recently they I all had square builds. There was just like a big square room with some stuff I needed in it, empty spaces, nothing to my bases, and seeing what you've done is just opened my eyes to what can be done with just basic structural pieces as well as the interior decor. Can you tell us a little bit, like what drew you to that? Is it,
yeah.
a background in something that makes you want to build this way, or do you just see it in your head?
I'm single. Boredom. Lots of free time to try different things. No, it, the angled window thing, I just want to go to that. We were doing stuff like that, pre-Beyond. It was just a lot harder to achieve, much harder to achieve. In the old tier glitching days, it was, I could make it sound like back in the day when all we had was a pill light and three choices of things that you could glitch, which is pretty much what you had. um, but I kind of build in an odd way, and the funny thing is I spend more time experimenting and going, well, what if I put this here? What if I put that there? What if I do this? What if I try that? That I rarely actually end up building a complete thing. When Beyond came and changed the building mechanic, overall and quite dramatically, in fact, I had spent the very beginning of the Beyond build mechanic trying to bring back glitch building, if you will, to try to help with that. Myself, Beetlebum, some other people. But we had lost a lot of techniques. We had lost our tier two. We had lost the ability to rotate parts and put them where we wanted.
A lot of people were
Um,
quite disappointed, and it drove a few players away for a
I,
while.
I was quite cranky. I had a tantrum. I put my cranky pants right on and had myself a little tantrum. And thankfully for my good friend DR, who I met through this game, and I'll say this a few times throughout this interview, the community in No Man's Sky is one of the most amazing things I have ever encountered in my life. Um,
They really
Hands
are.
down,
They really are.
best community I've ever run into. Hands down.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah.
to make my other story longer and more boring, um, I kind of build on the fly. I will sort of see something on a rare occasion. I will also use some references, kind of like, oh, that'd be neat to do something like that to get a base, just to get something going. But a lot of times I will try to use the environment for my build, as you see here. And as you would notice in my most recent project, which you will see in my current live streams. Um, but I kind of sculpt, I suppose. I throw some stuff around. I throw some parts around, or throw some clay, if you will.
Well, as a lot
To
of your streams are named, I was going through some of your stuff last night and the night before, and as you call it, throwing parts around.
Yep.
And it's a great way of putting it because you're testing out the waters. You see what looks good, and can it be done? How can you sort of optimize those parts and putting things together, you might be able to create something that looks really awesome. I was watching you build a pump house in one of your builds, and you had these great idea of the graphic of having water being pumped into one section and then
Uh,
moved over to another, and using
yeah.
certain parts to create that look. And it was really amazing to listen to you talk about the creativity behind that, and how you were going to use the different parts to do that. And of course, being able to, knowing that you can glitch build things in certain places, and the directionality of how to make the wires and the pill lights and stuff work, and switches, I might add as well.
Oh,
Um,
love the Switch.
Yes, the switch. I'm learning the switch. That one's a little new to me. I'm right now. I've got the pill lights and the wires down pretty good, and the switches I'm working on. Um, but you just know how you can do it, and I can sort of see how you've been doing that, where you get this idea in your head, and then you just start throwing stuff in there and see what works, what doesn't work, and it's really kind of inspiring to watch. And it, it kind of made me want to, go to one of my own little creative account spots and just start throwing parts around as well and see what I could do. Um, it
Ah,
it is. It's
good.
very inspiring watching you guys work. It's one of those streams I enjoy watching. You and Beetlebum, yourself, just
Thank you.
alone. I think I caught a little bit of your stream the other day. I rewatched it after it had been uploaded, and it was really quite interesting watching. Just watch you guys. Do your thing. You were alone that day, and you were just
Oh, I
shooting
know.
a shit,
Beeble wasn't
having some
feeling
fun.
well.
Well,
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately, that does happen. But yeah,
yeah.
it was really cool just to see you on your own, throwing some parts around, checking some stuff out, interacting with the community. And like you said, the community really is the most amazing part about this game.
Oh, yeah.
Without such amazing people in this community, this game would not survive. It
Mm-mm.
would not have gone on as long as it has. There would always be small pockets of people playing, but nowhere to share that stuff. And the community has banded together and created things to share our experiences, our pictures, our builds, all our discoveries and explorations, whether it's Discord or Amino or Reddit, I dare say, and various other, platforms. And the community behind them, all of them are really, really amazing people. Despite, what your preference is in, media applications. Um, and Amino is one of the preferred choices that I really like. I love the way it works, and that you can include so many different things to it: videos, pictures, chat rooms, comments. It's very speaks to
Hard to
my
keep up
AD.
with.
It speaks to my ADD and OCD, and
Yeah,
so it kind of works, right? You got to follow the red dots and go with that. I love the little red dots, and I love making them disappear. So all part of it, right? And the game
yeah.
sort of goes with that as well, because you've got to do have little grinds from here and there. Is there a particular grind or a mission that really you enjoyed? Like, did the living ship mission really interest you?
Nah. Quite honestly, if I'm going to be 100% on 100% honest, excuse me. First day with a new tongue.
By all means.
Um, I like the story. When the new things come out, I do, whatever the new lore is and the new story stuff. But for me, this game is really about the building. It really is about, being on this empty planet and finding a place to, create something and just, be creative and relax and just kind of, you know, do what I do in building. But if I were to say the living ship was neat, I think it was a little bit of a grind if you did it that way. There was the clocking option. Uh, so, but grind, uh, when I'm in normal, I don't mind hunting for my materials. Although I do, when I go back to normal building, I do on occasion, I'm trying to glitch something in. I'm like, why won't this glitch? Oh, I don't have the materials to build it. I forget that I'm now in normal and I require actual materials to build things. Because I spend a large predominant, uh,
I've made that mistake a few times. Yep. I'm losing
I'll
my
go to
touch,
visit
damn
somebody.
it.
Yeah. I'll go to help somebody or visit somebody in their normal save, and I'm, going to help them build something. I'm like, why can't I, or show them how to do something? Why can't I do, why is this not? Oh, we're in a normal save. Okay, hold on. Let me. Oh yeah, I'm out of ferrite dust. Oh
Yeah, or
geez.
glass, or
Or
yeah.
glass. Yeah. Usually glass, actually.
For me, it was the sulfurine, I think it was, or the sulfide crystals.
Sulfide crystals. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything for underwater.
always
Yeah.
running out of that stuff. Always.
Or the pearls. Yeah, the
Yeah,
living pearls.
I'm rolling along, I'm doing the thing, and things are attaching, and then it's not, and you think, oh, it's just a glitch, and then it happens again and again, and you're like, what's wrong with me? I was doing so good, and then you look at the graphic right up there that
Yeah.
shows every single time, and it says you're missing a
You need
component.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, kind of silly,
No.
but what
Yeah.
um what drove you into glitch building itself? Like there's
Oof.
building and then there's glitch building, and I mean you guys
Yeah.
have tier 1, 2, and 3, and you guys have taken
Back
it
in the
to like this
day. Yeah.
whole new level. What drew you to that?
Well, so when I first, got back into the game again after, I think it was probably the Abyss update. Um, I'm trying to remember. It's so hard to remember when I got back in, but building was part of the game again. Um, I, I decided, I was kind of doing as much, it had caught my interest so much that I started really doing some research on it. So I started Googling, building in No Man's Sky and, base building No Man's Sky. And, there was some neat stuff coming up on Google, and a lot of it that I was drawn to is stuff done by E.R. Burroughs, Chasing Hysteria, American Psycho, Kibbles Ash Factor, those guys. The last two are Blender builders. Um, but nobody was nobody was showcasing building or showing how they were building or anything about it really. Again, kind of repeat myself, I think from our earlier
It was just somebody showing a
conversation.
base. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a really cool like edited video and music, and it's really really amazing. And I found out later that was done by JC Hysteria. And then AP also does his own, and then everyone found out everyone was doing their own, but the ones I had seen were done by him anyway. But I'm like looking at their builds and I'm like, how did they get those parts to go there? So, anyway, again, to make the story longer, more boring, I started, building, and I'm like, I had a lot of free time, and I was kind of, bored at home. I was working a lot, and then my free time, I didn't really have anything to do. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to live stream me building. Why not? You know, uh, what's the worst that could happen? I stopped doing it. So I started live streaming my builds, and at first there was nobody watching, and I'm like, all right, I got to give it some time. I just started, blah blah blah. I don't know how much interested there is in the game or in base building in the game. And then again, Mary Lizzie shows up and started hanging out, and she basically kept me going the entire time. Mary, you're the rock. Holla. And then Sword showed up. I didn't know who he was at the time, but he started watching me build. And then Dark Lord Zelric shows up one day, and he's like, "Hey, uh, you build kind of different. Do you know how to glitch build, or do you know about glitch building?" I'm like, "Glitch building? What is this you speak of? More tools, another way to do things?" So he said, yeah, let's go to this airless planet. We're going to set up a little practice planet, he used to call them, which then I kind of renamed R&D planet. And now that seems to kind of be,
It seems to
a
have
nice
taken
thing that's
off. It has.
taken off and caught on, which I'm super stoked that people are doing that sort of thing and, using that as a sketch pad, if you will. And he's like, I recommend an airless moon or planet, somewhere where there's not any flora, fauna to, uh, to have to render in, and the gravity is lower, so you can move around easier. And he's like, and it's just a place where you can experiment and not have to worry about anything. So he showed me a couple of techniques, and that was it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, now I can rotate things and turn things upside down, and make a landing pad do this, and put these two round rooms, back to back, and the next thing I know, I just went nutty and I started, I just caught the glitch bug and started building like crazy, and you know, it just it's the creative aspect of I'm a creative person, I suppose. I was a tattoo artist professionally for 25 years. I grew up in my last household was a very creative household, and a lot of art and music around, and just the beauty of this game, and to be able to build something now that actually people hopefully will start to be able to visit more often and have an easier time than back in the day. Um, but to create in these environments is just a really amazing thing. I've never taken more screenshots in a game ever. I don't think I've ever taken a screenshot in a game until I started playing this game.
Oh, me neither. I didn't even know how
And
it was done. I thought it would just
yeah,
it was like, oh, I got all these screenshots from trophies. That's kind of cool.
right,
So I
right.
never even knew you could even press the button and hold it down and it would give you a screenshot until somebody showed me. And then they introduced, photography mode to the game, which completely
Yo,
revolutionized the
yeah,
game. It was one of the
yeah.
best components to an update that they've ever put into
Hmm.
the game. There's always improvements that can be made, but it is
Of course.
awesome. I love the photography mode. I love how
Yep.
in multiplayer, things don't
It
stop
stays
moving.
moving.
It stays
Yeah.
moving. I know it can be a pain to capture those still shots, but it allows for things like what we're doing right now to happen, where I can literally put it in photography mode, move the camera around, and create the illusion of, cameras on a
Or,
set or whatever.
right.
There's no HUD, there's no graphics blocking the screen or things that are popping
Yep.
up. It's a
Except for the
wonderful thing.
electrical symbol. Hello Games.
Yes, but it's a beautiful thing, and I really enjoy the photography mode. It's like you said, it's one of the things that I've used the most, and I've never even used it until this game came out because the beauty of this game.
Hmm.
It's just so gorgeous to photograph, whether it's
Yeah.
a scenery, a base, even other players doing funny things with the emotes. And that's another thing that I never really thought I'd even really care about or like is the emotes. When they first introduced them, I'm like, "Pfft, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a lame one. But I bought a couple and then I started using them. And then I started realizing that you can take stills with them in different positions. And then
Right.
that can give you all kinds of pictures that you can also play around with as well. Lily Hop is a master of that.
Yeah.
She's put her geck in all kinds of funny places and gotten so many good laughs out of that. Kirby, another great artist when it comes to using the emojis and so on. Now, you talked about streaming a little bit as part of one of the reasons that you got into glitch building as well. Was that the
Hmm.
only reason you got into to streaming, or was it just something you thought you'd try one day?
Um. Well, I chose No Man's Sky, to start, and it was something I thought I would try. I really love video games. I've always loved them. A buddy of mine kind of suggests, he's like, dude, you've always got great opinions on games, and when there's an issue in the game, and some good suggestions, a lot of times, and a lot of bad ones. But he's like, you should, stream and just voice your opinions about the things you're not liking about what's going on with your building right now. Like, why can't I do this? Why is the game doing this? Is there a way to? And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I've got all this time. Why not? Why not do it? Because I was playing No Man's Sky and my buddy was hanging out. We were just chilling, and he was, hanging out watching me build. He's like, dude, it's such a pretty game. And he's like, and I'd start grumbling about, it's like, why can't I do this thing? Why can't I go from here to here? You know, why do I have to stack a bunch of prefabs in order to traverse from top to bottom? Why can't I go from this portion of the terrain to this portion of the terrain? And why can't I flip this thing upside down? And why can't I, take that and turn that and then I started seeing, the builds by, American Psycho and ER and those guys, and I'm like, how are they getting those glass panel floors to be windows? How would they do that? And then again, I finally, just randomly and thankfully, Dark Lord Zelric dropped into my stream and, thought what I was doing was interesting enough to go, hey, you might enjoy knowing how to do this. And
He's some.
then, oh,
Sorry, go
go ahead.
ahead. No, 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 go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Oh, no, no. I was just going to say, and then, part of what kept me going with the streaming, aside from Mary being there and going, keep it up, um, was I wanted to pass along that knowledge. And again, I hadn't seen anyone streaming building stuff yet. There was nobody live streaming their building stuff. A lot of exploration and ship hunting and multi-tool stuff, and Sword doing a multitude of things, and building some farms and whatnot.
Casual play
Um, yeah,
is a
casual
lot of,
play.
yeah.
But nothing, nothing base building centric. I even started a PlayStation community page that was strictly base building. It was called No Man's Sky Base Builds. And it was just specifically for showcasing your base, talking about base building, because I wanted to learn more. And I also love looking at art and I love music and listening. I love people's creative thought process
Hmm.
and I love things that are creative. So I wanted to see what other people are doing in the game, not only to see what might be possible, but to also inspire me and just to admire, other people's creative thought process. And then, I also wanted to show people who are new to the game, because, they're up, after the update, as well, and previous to the Beyond update, what I was going through, and again, to kind of go, well, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Why can't we do this? Can we do that? And I continue to do that now, especially when I'm with people and we're like trying to do something and, you're in a particular moment and you're like trying to do something. You're like, well, why can't you just do that? We can do this sort of thing. Why can't we do this sort of thing? It's essentially the same thing, but just slightly different.
Yeah. And I watched some of your streams together as you figure this stuff out, and make it possible. It's really kind of neat. Um, Watching you two bounce off of each other, really kind of awesome. I like how you guys do that.
Well, I
Um,
think people and I have we've got a good chemistry together. People's very technical, and I'm a bit more chaotic technical. He was talking about that the other day, how how his way of thinking and my way of thinking, and and I try to absorb some of his technical thought, and he tries to absorb some of my chaotic thought, like throwing parts around kind of thing. I think he might be getting sick of me. I might be driving him a little nuts lately, but I was kind of wondering, maybe was he really sick the other day or on Monday, or was he just needed a break from me?
Sometimes, that's, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm going to sort of make a sort of adjacent sort of
I'm
topic
just
here.
joshing
Streaming
anyway.
is somewhat a very difficult thing,
Oh,
and it takes a little bit of dedication to do it. I did a little streaming myself back when No Man's Sky first came out. In fact, it was the only game I've ever streamed, was No Man's Sky, and I never wanted to because of, back when I played video games, it was, I was always afraid of stream sniping and all this other garbage.
yeah.
But then I wanted to share my knowledge of the game in the early days, and we were there's a bunch of us in the Twitch streaming sort of community that were bouncing around. We'd all stream, we'd all go to each other's streams, and support each other, and it all started with Nerd Down Dylan. Cloud Runner, as he's known now. And streaming is really, really hard. You got to be a little bit dedicated to doing it every day because viewers want to see content all
Or
the
have a
time.
schedule. Yeah.
A schedule is extremely important as well because in order for you to keep those followers, you got to keep that schedule, and content, and try and keep things interesting. You've came across base building and showing people what you can do. By, like, as you call it, throwing parts around, which is a unique way of streaming. And there's been all kinds of different ones out there. It's it's good that you've come across. Sorry, I should word that differently. It's good that you've come up with streaming while building because it shows how others can do this. I mean,
Yes.
they may not have the same creativity or the same,
Ah,
architectural genius as others, but it shows that it is possible for them to do it if they have that creativity. You just have to learn some of the basics, and
right.
by doing so, can give you that inspiration, as it
Well,
was given to me. Neri, as you call her, Nirwana, she gave
yeah.
that inspiration to me one day, after I interviewed her. She showed me a couple of just basic things, and I took it and it inspired me, and I started watching more streams in depth instead of just on the iPad in the distance listening in and what's going on. You start actually really watching and seeing what's going on with the controllers and the parts, and you start to see other things that can be done, and it's completely eye-opening to see all these amazing builders, and each one of them has their own
Yeah.
fingerprint of creativity, which just blows my mind,
Oh, it's amazing the amount of builders, and I'm so glad that building has taken off the way it has. I really, really am truly happy about it. That's why I started streaming, was to try to call attention to this portion of the game.
It's a large
Um,
portion that is
it has turned into a
often
large portion, I
not
think.
spoken of much in
Yeah.
the past, right? And a lot of light needs to be shone on the people who have helped drive this game and keep it going through the years. Base
Oh,
building is one of those huge components,
yeah.
definitely.
I mean, and again, back to the community, there's so many people too who, like Sword, Lava, I'm trying to say,
Oh,
I
the
did the
list
name of
could
the
go
list goes,
on.
yeah, it goes
I
on and on
know.
and on and on and
So
on and on
many.
and on. But
Zane's
who,
World and
Zane, oh my goodness, Zane, I mean, another amazing guy, great, 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 content creator, No Man's Sky, uh, you know, just but each one has, some people have specialties, like, multi-tool hunting, ship hunting, specific, getting those coordinates and glyphs, and putting them up and posting them and doing that. And that's what I love about this sandbox, is there are so many little facets. And I'm just happy I found this, and I'm happy to be able to, to try to help, new builders, new people to the game, new to glitch building, maybe even a builder, a more experienced builder who's just, looking for a new idea. And, we all think so differently. That's why I used to love doing base tours, and I should get back into them once multiplayer is, and now crossplay, which is awesome. I can start visiting other people's,
I know
builds. I used to
that's
do base tour interviews where I would go to a base and interview the person who built it, talk about what they went through, their inspiration of the build, be able to walk around it, showcase, what they did, get ideas for myself, like, ooh, that's a cool idea I'm gonna have to nip later, you know. um, and
definitely. I think we all do
but
that. Is that's how we
oh yeah,
share and learn new techniques,
yeah.
right?
Well, and speaking of that, going back, before Beyond when it was just tier glitching, I was hanging out with this cat, A Pictor, super underrated builder, a really, really great guy, very smart, great builder. But anyway, we were doing, rotation with a pill light usually, and then he was using the lab light, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's a good idea. He's like, yeah, there's so many more markings. And then I was using the lab light, doing something on a vertical surface, building, this thing called, well, it was either my junker build, the frigate build, or the mining machine, one of the two. Anyway, JC had seen me do the technique, and he's like, holy mackerel, we can do circles at any angle now. So he watched me do something that was, a particular thing in a certain way, and then that led him to thinking about doing that technique in a whole other way. And I see that a lot now, where, a good example is, the Atlas egg or the Atlas seed, um, that I built, and then people taking those windows and creating other things with them, or taking a part of something that they saw in somebody else's build and elaborating upon it. I love
Definitely.
the creativity.
Oh, it is. One of the examples that I can use is for myself is the competition that was recently out for the PVF.
Hmm.
I had sort of an idea which I thought I could try and do based on some of the ideas that I had seen, and some experimenting that I had done, and I wanted to try and create the illusion of two snakes going around, the pole and then the wings,
Oh, the
creating
Caduceus,
the
very,
caduceus. That's right.
yeah.
And it wasn't perfect. I would have liked, to try and taper them down a little bit more towards the bottom. But the idea behind being able to do that and then seeing how it can sort of be done using the techniques and then going ahead and applying those techniques, right? I never would have learned that I could do that if it wasn't for watching some streaming and watching some of you guys do
Right.
some of those things. And
And
sharing that within the community is, that,
that's why the
yeah,
PBF was
that's what
created.
makes it worth it. Worth being part of the community and being part of, everything. For the interest of time, I know it's getting really tight on time, but I wanted to really
No
quickly
worries.
ask you about the PBF. You're
Yep.
also one of the Council of Seven,
Yep.
and a founder for the PBF. Um,
But let me just say something real quick on that. But the people who do a lot of the work on there would be Beeblebum, Telepath, and Nirvana. But yes, the
well,
I
there's
am
seven
part of
of
the
you.
council on that. There is
Yeah.
7, yes.
Yes, and you all do your part,
Yes.
and it is share your responsibilities, and it's really kind of
True,
cool how
true.
you do that. It's not one person that runs the show; it's like the whole group of you do it,
Of course.
and I think that's what makes the PBF a very strong community. Is that it's not run by one person; it's run by a few people,
No.
several, and it is always on. It's like the cafe. It's like 24/7. There's always somebody there, and there's always somebody willing to help,
Heck yeah.
and
That's
teach, and
that's important.
very friendly. If nobody's heard of the PBF Discord, I highly recommend checking them out if you want to learn some
Please.
base building stuff. It's a great place to be and a lot of fun. And I like hopping in there because it's a little bit of an extension of the cafe quite often, because everybody's so friendly and it's a lot of fun um, to be in a place like that where you can learn something and still have fun at the same time instead of throwing your controller and saying I can't do it, because everybody's so patient and friendly, and it's really awesome. Like
Well,
Neri is who
hey,
taught me, and
oh yeah, she's a
yeah,
sweetheart.
very, very nice lady, and she was so patient while I was trying to figure it
Yep.
out. And when I finally did, it was like the light bulbs went off, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just a great thing to behold, to be there, and I felt like running over and hugging her, but that graphic isn't in the game. You know what I mean?
There should be a hug emoji,
A
right?
hug and a high five. We need
And
a
a high
high
five, yeah,
five. That's right. We
yeah.
need to be able to
You can
interact
get
that way.
close with the high five. We've done a close with the high five with the wave. If
Yes.
you position yourself at off angle, you can kind of get a high five wiggle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And the
but
thumbs
yeah,
up, you can
the
sort of do a hug, but not
yeah,
quite. Yeah.
not quite. But yeah, the PBF was definitely started to to obviously bring base building out into the forefront as much as possible. As was said before, we're a group of like-minded people who enjoy the building aspect of the game, who realize that there's a lot to the base building aspect, and when you see some of the things that I'll use me as an example that I may have built and go, how the heck, what is, and what parts are those? How did you do that? We're there to help you unlock your creativity, and, the whole point of being the Council of Seven, we don't want any drama. We just want to enjoy the game, enjoy each other's company, have a good time, laugh, joke around, be fun. That's what it's about, and be creative,
That's right,
and
because it's a game, right?
it's a
Like let's
game.
enjoy
Exactly.
the entertainment that we purchased for ourselves.
Right.
Um, it's getting tight for time, and I hate
Yeah,
to
yeah,
rush
yeah.
your answer here, so I'm gonna quickly ask you this one last question,
And
and
then you're
then
gonna do a little walk around.
yeah, then we're gonna record another little walk around when we get
All
a
right.
moment. And any other questions we can definitely ask, live in chat during the
Yeah.
broadcast on Sunday.
Oh,
Okay, sir, this is it.
oh,
The
there's
final
more. There's
question.
more to this. There's more to this. I'm gonna be live sometime,
If we
answering
can
some
hook you,
questions in chat. Yeah,
if
yeah,
we
I
can
got you.
hook you, I'd
I'm
love
there.
to.
You let me know when. You let me know when I'm there.
Okay.
I didn't know there was another part, but I'm up for it. Let's go. I
What?
got my action pants on. They're all
Right.
charged up.
Here we go. Do you, sir? Do you have the answers to life, the universe, and everything in between?
You know, if I had that, the world wouldn't be in the state it's in now. If anyone had that, the world wouldn't be in the state it's in now. The only thing I can say is, uh, try to be a good human.
That's a
Be
great
helpful.
answer.
Be helpful. Be kind. be quiet, listen, and learn. And don't be afraid to experience new things.
Excellent.
There's a lot of things out there that you're going to miss if you're afraid to just take a little bit of a chance.
I agree. Sometimes a little bit of a risk is worth it.
Yep. Like taking a chance on this game. Take a chance on this game.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
It
Thank you
was
for
an
having me.
Dude, it was an absolute pleasure, and an hour just doesn't seem enough.
Uh,
I'm sure we're going to have a great time, discussing in live chat.
that
Um,
sounds like a good time to me.
Thank you very much. Action Pants Gaming, everyone.
Thank you very much, everybody. And as I always say to everybody out there in the No Man's Skyverse, this has been me, Kevin C. The Anomaly, wishing all of you out there a little love, peace, and starship grease.
Hell yeah. Love it. Thank you.
All right, take care.